My first spiritual experience happened not in a church, but at the University of Minnesota, at a student production of Peter Pan. At one point during the play, Tinkerbell neared extinction, and an actor stepped onto the apron and assured us that the only way she can be saved would be for all of us to pronounce our collective belief in fairies. "Do you believe in fairies?" he asked. My 5-year-old self leaped onto the seat and yelled at the top of my voice, "I do!" much to my parents' embarrassment. This was in Minnesota, where children are not allowed to raise their voices unless they're stuck in a snowdrift. When the rest of the audience followed me in their affirmation, Tinkerbell was saved. I did that. I learned 3 things. Speaking the truth, your truth, rather than being told what to believe, is powerful. Number 2, that an ad hoc community committed to a positive purpose can do amazing things. And 3, that my voice can make a difference. I believe the audience's support of Tinkerbell was just following my lead. The gigantic ego I have at this age, I nurtured from the age of 5. I guess I've always liked churches, or the idea of churches. I find it amazing that people choose to congregate in churches on a regular basis to discover different ways of being and becoming. Other willful congregations at the mall, at the hops game, at the Saturday market are not events that promise transformation. I leave Best Buy the same as I entered. But churches, because they are places of spiritual choice, promise hopeful becoming. Church is where I may choose to be open to receiving a blessing. I don't find that anywhere else. In the words of John O'Donohue, this is the place to bless the space between us. I was young once, a very, very long time ago, and I remember my early church connections. In a succession of Protestant churches, I liked the comforting familiarity of people, places, music, and pancake suppers. But what I didn't like, even as a small child, was the imposition of somebody else's belief. There seemed to be no room for, hey, what about, and even my youthful questions threatened the fragile established order in those churches. The arrogant assumption that I would subscribe and embrace complicated, confusing dogma offended my questioning mind. In church after church, as I grew older, I don't remember them asking me what I thought or what beliefs made sense to me. When I raised what I felt were reasonable objections to dogmatic points, my earliest churches dismissed my arguments. As I moved toward increasingly tolerant churches, my affinity for church communities grew. I liked the communities, I just didn't like the dogma. I found worthwhile places to be within more tolerant churches, but still no one asked what I believed. That was until I was a freshman at university. On some Wednesdays, the minister of the Holland Park Unitarian Church prepared a spaghetti dinner for students. My hunger overcame my skepticism, and I began making the regular vigil to that event. For the first time in a church, someone sat down and asked me what I believed, without beginning a debate intended to correct my thinking. And so my journey that led me to this church began. When very religious neighbors in the South began to celebrate my new church-going status, they assumed that I would then switch over and attend their dogmatic churches with them. When I explained that the dogma was what kept me away, that I had found a community where I could follow my own beliefs, where I could then develop and change beliefs, neighbors assured me that I still had not found a real church, a church without Dante's image of a terrifying afterlife and the threat of eternal damnation, just lacked the frightening drama that they experienced every Sunday. The prospect of members believing other than what they were led to believe was incomprehensible to them. They assured me that mine was not a real church. But if a church is in part a place to nurture belief, a place to commit to each other, a place to grow and change, a place to build a community that overwhelms the isolation of a society that is mostly held together through TV remotes and cell phones, then that is the church I want. I want a place to bless the space between us. There is lots to believe in here. Here members make places for themselves as they invent new ways to build community. Without dogma, members find self-ministries, ways to make meaningful connections, to support each other. They find ways to join, to do, in the words of Garrison Keillor, to do what needs to be done. The Shaw Ministry, the book group, the pastoral care team, the worship associates, the Shaw Ministry, the book group, we've already done them, covenant group, genealogy group, Just Act, maintenance, stewardship, religious exploration, circle suppers, adult RE, hiking groups, and the new ways that we keep on always coming up with new ways to connect and support each other. These are just some of the groups that make meaningful community here, and community is what makes the spiritual spot that we can develop. This is more than not a church. This is a belief. There is a belief here that sustains us. Belief in each other that builds stronger connections as we invent new ways of being together and find our way in a world that needs our caring example. Since my first spaghetti dinners at school, I've become a different believer, one who is more open to exploration, one who is less cynical, one who listens with an open heart to what I hear here. I found a community where I can go far beyond what I don't believe. Every day, what awaits me is a time to explore how my belief will enhance my life. Being in community with you helps me safely go on these unrestrained journeys. This is a church of becoming. It's where I'm most likely to receive a blessing of the space between us. And so be it.
Now please rise and join in singing our closing hymn,